brought to you in part by Stardust. Download the app and start sharing your reactions to movies, trailers, and TV shows today. Follow Jaby Koay first and tag us in your first video. You look fantastic. Calm down. Come this way.
Calm down.
Why is that funny? Hello people, I'm Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hello.
I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt and I've got a little bit of a Superman hairdo going on just to show my appreciation for the Justice League. And we've got ACHARA, who is representative of fuck all. No.
My superhero shirt was in the laundry, goddammit. I have this. I have a Wonder Woman Lego toy, okay?
Yeah. I brought out my Batmobile from the original Tim Burton Batman. I like this Batmobile in this movie about as much as I like this original Batmobile. This was my favorite. So this is going to be a spoiler review of the Justice League. If you would like to see our non-spoiler review, there is a link in the description below. It is an extensive non-spoiler review. We managed to talk at length without giving anything away. I was impressed with ACHARA. So, this is gonna be spoiler heavy, so if you don't wanna hear any spoilers, then please leave this video and come back after you've watched the film, please. Before we get into it, wanna talk a little bit about Stardust, our sponsor for this video. Thank you to Stardust. If you guys haven't heard yet, Stardust is an app you can download for your phone. It allows you to record reviews between 3 and 30 seconds long for trailers, movies, and TV shows. It's a great way to get started on reviews and share your thoughts with everybody. The limitation enables you to get through people's thoughts faster, kinda like Twitter for your mouth. People have their reviews and you don't have to deal with like 20-minute extensive things like we did for our spoiler-free review. You could just get a quick thing in and out. Yeah. You can breeze through it like Instagram stories. You click, click, click to move on to the next one. Here are some people's thoughts from Stardust.
Justice League, a movie a lot of us nerds have been waiting a long time to see. Is it what I expected? Yes. Is that slightly unfortunate? Yes.
I'll be honest, I like this movie a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Hated Batman v Superman, hated Suicide Squad, garbage movies, Justice League, fucking amazing.
Just as bad as Batman versus Superman.
Steppenwolf was kind of lacking, but overall this movie was entertaining, it was fun to watch.
It's amazing. Loved it.
Download the app using the link in the description below. Follow us first on Stardust because we recommended it to you. Actually, I did, but she's here, so I have to say we. And make sure you tag us both on Twitter when you upload your first video review. I need to say one important thing regarding our viewing experience with Justice League the first time around. We watched it with the best audience possible.
Oh my God.
It's the cast and crew, and then there were people who were let into this premiere that were just hardcore devout fans, and people were so happy. They were cheering at names on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how happy they were. Gal Gadot's name, Gal Gadot! Wonder Woman! And then whenever someone awesome shows up for the first time, everyone's cheering. The best visceral response out of this film from that audience. That has an influence and an impact on your viewing experience, which is why I think when you're watching a movie like this, you really need to go to the earliest showing possible. That's why I used to go to midnight shows back in the day. Because that's when you get like the most excited audience that does have the possibility of, you know, curving your opinion in one direction or the other. And that certainly curved mine because it's like I was just high on that adrenaline. Having watched it a second time last night, it certainly became more apparent what flaws there were. I mean, not that I wasn't completely oblivious to the flaws the first time, but they were certainly more apparent this time around. I was less patient with the bad guy this time around, Steppenwolf. I really didn't like him as a villain. He was the most boring villain. It's saved just barely by the fact that you have this team that gets together and it's really fun to watch their interactions. I was talking to a buddy of mine who I've mentioned many times, Ricky Elliott, who was saying that it would have been better if I'm not misquoting him, it would have been better if they killed off Steppenwolf like in the second act and made Superman the villain that they have to kind of like pull back in and rein back in somehow.
Yeah, they have to bring him back to humanity.
Yeah, and that would have been really interesting. His argument was they rushed his death and they rushed his return. I'm like, that's true, but you know what? I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan, and the fact that I had fun with this, that was like more than I could ask for at that point. All of the other Zack Snyder's movies, I'm just like, it felt like effort to sit through. I know that there are lots of you who would disagree with that. You're big fans of 300, Man of Steel, etc. I'm not the biggest fans of those films, and so it was always effort for me to get through his movies. The fact that I could smile and laugh at one of Zack Snyder's films in a way that was intended, this is a breath of fresh air. That being said, let's pick it apart.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. But you still came out like having a good time.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I mean, I still enjoyed it. Now, you have to know that I am not a hardcore comic book nerd. I'm familiar with the characters and I enjoy them. I don't know all of the nuances, but I'm not a complete newbie. I fall somewhere in between. But for me, this movie was still a whole lot of fun, even in the second viewing. Now, there were certain parts that watching it the second time, I was like, wow, that kind of dragged. I guess my one big gripe is the story.
Why do you laugh when you say that? Because you shouldn't?
Because how can a story be not good and yet the movie is still really enjoyable?
You've got characters and character interactions that are entertaining and amusing, and that can get you a long way. If you look at the plot for Thor Ragnarok, it's not the greatest plot,
No.
but you still have so much fun when you're watching it, and I think the case is identical here. Thor Ragnarok wins marginally by the fact that it's got a better bad guy. I didn't think it was the greatest bad guy. A lot of people would disagree with me there. Here, I thought the villain was absolutely atrocious. It's mainly because it was such a one-dimensional person. Like, he came only to conquer, and there was nothing more to him. I'm like, you gotta give him something else that just layers him, because, like, what's he doing when he's not conquering? I'm just so curious.
Sitting on the toilet reading a newspaper, waiting for the call from the mother.
I know that sounds absolutely asinine, but it's like he is so far from anything resembling a human. He's completely CGI that it's like he's such a disinteresting person to be around. And I say person loosely. He looks menacing if he was just a still frame. He has a menacing appearance to him, right? No, I mean that.
Yeah, no,
But-
I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about the line I think that Batman said at one point where he calls back to the Flash and he goes, wow, he is tall.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sorry, that was just like a completely... Yeah, he's totally unreal. He's CGI, he's really big,
Right.
and he doesn't have a lot of personality.
This time around, Batman's stiff movements is what I think is what I called it before. It didn't bother me as much as the first time. The first time, for some reason, it seemed like he was super stiff, but this time around, I was like, it was fine. I mean, when he was walking around without the mask on, it looked weird, because he's just kind of like...
He looked like super inflated.
He looked like a Marine from StarCraft. It's just like this disproportionate sized body because of the costume. With the mask on and everything, it looks dope. I think it looks cool. Let's talk about Lois Lane. That seems like a point of contention for people. When I first watched this, I didn't have a problem with Lois Lane, but I didn't love her. It was like, she's there. She's filling her part in this movie. We watched it last night with Courtney Wright and Megan Leigh, and neither of them really liked Lois Lane.
I just had a problem with Lois Lane's wig.
Courtney definitely had a problem with Lois Lane's wig. I mean, after Mustache Gate, I imagine they didn't have money to erase the wig hairline. Speaking of Mustache Gate, that... You know, every time I saw his face, it just looked funny, and I don't know if it's because I knew going in that they did that, if I was looking for it. It jumped out at me.
Yeah.
His face just looked weird. I could tell when it was a reshoot and when it was from the original shoot. If his face looked weird, and he looked like he was on a green screen, then it was a reshoot. Like, in particular, the scene in the field when he was talking with Lois and then his mom, they tried to mask it sort of by having him be far from the camera, like a wide medium. There's like a sun behind him, so you can't see his face that well. They tried to mask it, but you could still pick up on it.
I didn't really notice it in that, but definitely in the prologue scene. Face!
Right.
His mouth looked all like...
I was like...
Sorry.
Okay, I'm taking this away from you. You don't get the toy anymore.
No more toys for
So,
ACHARA.
how did you feel about the cell phone opening? Excluding the noticeable mustache gate, how did you feel about that opening with Superman? Because I was wondering why. I know that that's a reshoot. That's definitely a reshoot. That's definitely, you know, Whedon putting his mark on the movie. But why did they do that?
Maybe like to humanize him or something. I thought the kids were cute, the kids behind the camera. As a purpose, what they did in Spider-Man Homecoming with that sort of footage worked better for me.
Well, it helped you see his perspective on things, right?
Yeah.
And what era, what generation he's in.
Exactly.
To really show his roots, where he's at, especially relative to previous Spider-Mans. Like, he is very much of this generation. Here, I thought that there was two reasons. This is just a guess.
Okay.
One is to just establish Superman, because the only other time you see him between that and later on in the film is when he wakes up from the dead and he's an ass. Not an ass, but he's a villain. I said ass, that was a mistake. I mean,
Batman's
he's just,
an ass.
Batman's an ass. But he's just like, he's pummeling the heroes, right?
Yeah.
He's like a villain for a moment. I guess what Joss Whedon wanted was your first experience with Superman in this movie to be pleasant. So you see what these heroes are fighting for. They're fighting for that guy. That's what my thought was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just wondered, you know, because I saw it twice and I'm like, I'm still not 100% sure why this is here.
It is just to remind us, like, who Superman is to the general public and to everyone, including the heroes, and then the void that has been left because of his absence.
Yeah.
Barry Allen, The Flash.
Flash was just as amusing the second time around for me. Especially that moment when he's trying to sneak around behind Superman and Superman looks at him. That was like one of my most favorite moments in movie history.
Ezra Miller gives such good face.
No, but it was like, it was the perfect moment.
Yeah.
It was so well constructed because he looks at him like, oh my God, because Flash has been well established that he's Flash and he's super fast, and no one can match his speed in this alternate time reality other than Superman.
Yeah.
The fact that Superman can like look back at him.
Yeah, and he's like giving him the side eye, like,
Oh,
what? You're really gonna try and sneak up on me,
yeah,
dude?
and then he just like knocks him around. I'm just like, oh my God. Flash's like his face, his expression in response to Superman being able to see him, I lost it.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. And it's
so good.
Like both audiences, the fresh audience, the excited audience at the premiere, and this audience last night just was guffawing over that.
Yeah.
Like, it was just awesome.
Such a good moment.
That has to be the best moment in the entire film. I was watching The Real Rejects, Greg and John's review. John remarked how his favorite moment was the end credits scene where they race. Because it was a moment where you actually see this camaraderie. And you see this fun that we've been wanting in these films. Like, there's actually like this kind of joyful with them together, you know? And I think that is awesome. And he was right. Like, that is it's weird that one of the best moments of the movie is after the credits begin.
Well, overall, I thought that this was a really great introduction to all the characters in the team, or at least for now, all the characters in the team. I feel like that was the purpose of this movie.
Sure.
And for that reason, I think it achieved its goal. Yes, the villain was lame. The story, you know, wasn't the best.
It was a weak plot.
Yeah, it was a weak plot, but that's okay. I came for the characters. I came for all of the heroes.
It's like the reviews have been saying, right? This is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a beacon of hope, like Superman.
I'm really hoping that the next installment has a better plot, has a better villain. There's only so many times you can get away with this. Coming off of Batman vs. Superman, this was a beautiful godsend compared to that. You need to take it up from here. This is fine.
Yeah.
This is a good start.
It's a good start.
Take it up from here, though. Give me a better story next time. Give me a better bad guy next time. I could not care less about this bad guy. And then Ricky Elliott was pointing out, so wait, Wonder Woman chops down his axe and he gets scared. Like, what's he scared of? This is the kind of guy that would ride and die into battle. Like, he would fight tooth and nail until the end, and he's scared because he lost his little axe.
Oh, you know, maybe he's not like Thor. You know, Thor had the power all along, but maybe all the power was in his stupid little axe, and then now he doesn't have it, so he's freaked out. I feel like no one's really been talking about the Amazonian scene. I really liked it. That was one of
cool.
one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
Well, here's the thing.
I thought it was really fun, and they were strong, and it had more of those like cool equestrian tricks and archery things that they were doing in the Wonder Woman movie.
While I agree with you that there was a lot of great ideas there, one of Megan Leigh's complaints, when we saw the film with last night, was the kind of overall look that Zack Snyder puts on his movies that he does every time.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree with her. Like, there is a look on Zack Snyder's films that makes it feel more remote from you as a human.
Yeah.
Like, it feels less tangible. It feels less real.
Yeah, I guess it does have that kind of like hyper glossy, this is make-believe.
Yes.
It's very fantastical.
Right. That whole sequence on the island with the Amazonians, I liked the ideas going on, but it was so heavily laden with CGI and green screen. I was just kind of accepting it. I'm like, okay, like, this is cool. And it was a lot of fight for nothing because they lost the box anyway.
I know, that was kind of sad.
And so, which is fine. Like, that's cool. It just went on for a while to amount to it being lost anyway. I would have preferred that to be a much shorter sequence in favor of more development scenes with each of the characters. Sure. There's a lot of stuff like that in the movie where I would have preferred it to be shorter in favor of more development. Or if you want to have all that, you need to give me a better bad guy. Like, I would trade some of that for better development with this villain, because it was all kind of just thrown at you. Wonder Woman shows up to talk to Batman, and he goes, an invasion's coming. She's like, it's here. And then she goes into this long monologue, and I'm like, what? That segue was a little bit odd. It wasn't really organic. It was like, this has to happen here, so it's going to happen because movie. It doesn't feel like the most natural thing. The first time around, like, I didn't really process that. The second time, I really had a chance to think about it structurally, and I'm like, yeah, that's not the most organic way to handle that.
Well, there are two leaders who are on the same page. Like, he thinks that he's going to have a tough time recruiting her, but she's literally like, no, I'm here. I know what's going on.
Sure. That's true.
Let me tell you, like, I have the history because of, you know, my people. Well, the one thing that did stand out for me, there's a big difference in how Wonder Woman looks in this movie versus Wonder Woman
I
movie.
immediately noticed some butt cheek.
Yeah, I was like, what? I don't remember her little skirt tunic thing looking that short.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I didn't mind. Was anyone bitching about that, or they were just saying?
No.
Because the thing about it is, we saw way more skin from the dudes in the movie than we did of the women, in my opinion.
True that.
So
I know a lot of women in the audience were super excited when certain people showed up shirtless.
Yeah, that's just Zack Snyder movies. So I didn't mind her outfit. I thought it was fine. I didn't. It did cross my. Oh, it's not shorter than not having a shirt. I just watched my brother's review right before doing this one. One of the things he said was that Aquaman almost didn't even need to be in this movie. And I thought about it, I processed that, and I'm like, I guess that's fair.
The purpose of Aquaman in this movie was to generate interest and excitement for Aquaman that's coming out next year.
Right.
And I'm excited about it.
No, I am
Nothing's
excited.
wrong with that.
I am excited about it. I just wanted it to be more than a commercial. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to see more of Aquaman. I wanted to see more of Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
And giving him an opportunity to shine and giving him maybe a little bit more of a character arc. We got to learn a little bit more about the ins and outs of his character when he was doing his monologue with the lasso of truth.
Yeah, I'm not complaining that he's in the movie. I am complaining that I wish they justified his presence more.
Right.
I want him there. I don't not want him there. I just want a better reason for him to be there than brute force. I mean, I suppose that's good enough of a reason, but it's like, I feel like they could have done more with it, especially given what they did with everybody else in the movie. They established that Aquaman's got some chip on his shoulder from something that happened under the water, but like, you're not really clear what. Like,
right, yeah.
It's just like, stuff happened and he's angry. I'm like, okay, but we really got a clear understanding of Flash's perspective, of Cyborg's perspective on things, but we didn't really get Aquaman's, and so that was all very rushed.
Enjoyed that bit when they were all trying to subdue Superman. You really got to see like the extent of his strength and the extent of all the other heroes' strength pitted against Wonder Woman versus Superman, and he was still stronger. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Diana Prince is a goddess though.
Right. Apparently a lot of people thought that Superman was just going to show up in the last 15 minutes. I didn't ever have that suspicion for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Everyone seems to be unanimously happy that Superman shows up when he did. I would have to agree with that because having that battle between Superman and the other heroes, I thought was brilliant. Just in general, like, just as an idea, I thought that was cool. That moment when Superman picks up Batman and goes, "Do you bleed?" It was like, I remember when everyone at the premiere screening was like, "Oh my God, he said it!" And it was like, it was so awesome. And then when Lois Lane shows up and he just chucks him, and you hear Batman fly off screen, like you don't even see him, you just hear him fly off screen. I remember Courtney was next to me and she just burst into laughter because he just tossed him like a rag doll. It's brilliant that he goes, "So definitely bleeding."
Yeah.
There was another moment like that towards the end of the film that was great. Superman's on the floor and he's like, I changed my mind. I wish I was dead right now. And Cyborg goes, "Yeah, I feel like my foot hurts. I don't even know how that works." Yeah. Like, that was cool because it made them human. And that made them more relatable. I'm pretty sure that's Joss Whedon. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? These are conspiracies now.
Really feels like Joss Whedon's writing.
I love the moment when Superman goes, "You didn't bring me back just because you don't like me." Or something like that. And Batman goes, "I don't not."
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of great moments in the movie. It's just plot-wise and story-wise, like you were saying, it's just really weak. Thankfully, they had a lot of awesome lines, a lot of great moments that kind of carried you through. Second time around, I wouldn't give it 5 stars.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what I would give it at this point. It's a mixed bag of like really cool stuff and really crappy stuff. I guess it's somewhere in between, like a 3.5 to a 4.
Yeah. I mean, I would still say closer to a 4 for me.
My rating system on this channel always changes because I hate rating systems. I kind of go about it like Conan O'Brien, where he's like, a Z. I'm like, what the fuck is a Z? No one knows what a Z is. He's like, on a scale of rabbits to, you know, sanitizer, I give it a gummy bear. Like, he'll just say random things like that. I was expecting this moment in the movie, and I really wanted it, and they didn't do it. But when 4 of the Justice League show up to fight Superman, right? Aquaman, Flash, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg. I wanted a moment, like, late into the fight where Batman shows up, running. just frustrated. He's like, you couldn't, like, could someone take me? Can someone, I can't fly. Can someone, Aquaman. I would have loved it if there was a moment like that because Batman showed up really late to the fight. Batman's just kind of struggling to keep up, and the movie does explain that he can't.
And not only that, but Batman in here, he's been Batmaning for 20 years now. He's nearly over the hill.
I guess my question is, how come they didn't bring back the suit, right? So he's at least as powerful as the rest of them fighting. Like, he's got all the artillery to help. He should have had some kind of thing to help level up his game, I think, in my opinion. Maybe that's stupid, but that's just a thought. There's a ridiculous disparity between him and everybody else. Although I will say, it is kind of cool that what he brings to the table is brains. I don't know what this is edited down to, but we've been speaking for about 41 minutes according to our recording, so I'm gonna end it here. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Please, if you haven't already, download Stardust using the link in the description below, and follow us first on Stardust. After you upload your first video, make sure to tag us both on Twitter. It's a great way to connect with people, try to get your friends on there. It's cooler than using comments and text and email. I mean, you get to see your friends' faces. Don't you like seeing your friends' faces?
And you can see more of us too.
What is more exciting? Seeing a text going, amazing, in all caps with exclamation marks, or your friend on the phone going, amazing? What's more exciting? I think the latter is more exciting. I strongly recommend checking out, even if you just want to peruse and look at other people's reviews, it's a great way to do that as well, to get a nice wide collection of opinions. It's the fastest way to do so, in my opinion. If you're on a specific movie, the app is organized in such a way that you can keep clicking through to other opinions of that movie. It's an app exclusively dedicated to the conversation of movies, TV shows, and trailers. If you're into that stuff, it's something worth checking out, in my opinion. You know, give it a shot. Thanks for hanging out with us. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.